Hello, classmates. Professor Watson. This is a topic of nightclub fires and discussion on it. The loss of life that was involved with these three massive club fires was unbelievable. Hundreds of lives were lost. Property, I'm sure it was millions of dollars, and um, endless people's families just destroyed from these fires. And over long periods of time as well. The Coconut Grove, I believe, was in the 40s. The station fire was more modern, and the one in the 70s as well. Um, watching one of the last videos where there was actual footage of people partying, and then watching the band start up with pyrotechnics, and just watching that fire unfold from that was, I just couldn't believe that they'd have pyrotechnics in a building, that small scale and that much pyrotechnics. It was pretty bad. Um, in all three cases, uh, egress was an issue. In that last video that I was watching of the club, where they were kind of walking around with the camera, when the fire started, you could hear the alarm systems going off, but no fire suppression was going on. And I believe in all three cases there wasn't fire suppression. I do believe if there was any kind of fire suppression in place, they could have prevented a lot of life loss and possibly saved these clubs so they could, be still around for enjoyment. There are a lot of things to look at for these kind of fire scenes. For one, everyone's having a good time partying. You're not thinking about escaping a building or the what ifs of if tragedy or something like this were to happen. Everyone's drinking alcohol, having a good time with friends, socializing. You're more focused on that and not at what's going on around you. It might be too late by that time to find a way out of the building, and then once the mass hysteria starts and people try to egress out of the few doors that are available for escape, the bodies are going to be piled on top of each other trying to escape this fire, and if that doesn't get you, the smoke inhalation will, and I just can't imagine being on one of those scenes. A couple issues and concerns that could cause this is you made mention that a lot of these buildings that are nightclubs are refurbished buildings and reconstructed to be nightclubs. They weren't initially nightclubs. It could have been like a big furniture store or some sort of a warehouse building that wasn't designed for the amount of occupants that they're going to have in it. So that could be a huge concern in the building code itself for the amount of occupants just being a dangerous environment if something like a fire were to erupt. Other issues, I know probably back in the 40s and 70s, they didn't have the restrictions on smoking as much. I know there still is a lot of places that allow you to smoke in the clubs, but more modern laws are preventing that. So that's one of the risks that was more prevalent back then was, people smoking everywhere. So you have that risk of someone starting a fire that way. Something more modern that could be an issue is, it's kind of the go big or go home with these bands with their equipment. Some of these bands have so much electronics and lighting systems. The lighting systems alone, I can say, from my youth, I got to participate with some buddies setting up light equipment for a couple DJs, and I just couldn't believe the amount of equipment that goes into it. And these buildings just aren't equipped, and you're going to have issues with that, with overload of the systems. So that's another issue. And then, like I said before, no fire suppression is critical in these kind of fires. Do I think if there was a fire suppression, would it have prevented? Yeah, I do. Anytime you've got sprinkler systems in place, the risk of that fire spread is going to be drastic. And if it were, say, an electrical overload of a outlet or cigarette that started the blaze, you could have, that be put out quickly if detection is early. Now, another risk for us would be the occupants and rescue operations. If you've got 1,000 people in a club with, a handful of doors for them to escape out of, once that smoke inhalation takes place and people start going down, you're going to have bodies all over the doorway there trying to, impede your ingress to go in there and rescue people. And once the bodies start piling up, that's just going to be a disaster of a scene, something I never want to see. My experience being a little younger and going to nightclubs, I never really thought about looking at the egress and watching the one video in the beginning of the old man with, he said the camel hair jacket. I think that guy, he was saying, now that's something he subconsciously always looks at is his egress in all those situations. So something to be wary of, just when I'm having a good time, maybe I'll look around these nightclubs and take a better look and see if they're available for firefighters and accessible for people to get out. That's all I got today, and thank you.